Hello friends, this is Sanjay. In this video, we will be covering the 30 EVS questions from CTET paper 1 from the December 2021 examination. This particular question paper was conducted on the 5th of January 2022. This is the English version of the video. If you prefer the answers and explanations in Hindi, then you can watch a different version of this video where I have covered the same questions in Hindi as well. The CTET December 2021 examination was conducted in an online mode, and the examination actually started on the 16th of December 2021 and it was conducted all the way till the 21st of January of 2022. So this exam was conducted over a period of 23 days. Therefore, we have 23 different versions of paper 1 that we can solve, and since each subject has 30 questions in each question paper, we will be solving a total of 690 questions for each subject on our channel. Now, these 690 questions, EVS questions that we will solve, cover the entire EVS syllabus and are very useful in preparing for the upcoming examination. Tarun Bharat Sangh is an organization that works for the conservation of water. The person heading this organization is which one of the following? Now, the question is based on EVS chapter Every Drop Counts from the class 5 textbook. And if you look at the names, Medha Patkar is associated with the Narmada Bachao Andolan, and Sunder Bhaguna is associated with the Chipko Andolan, and Rajinder Singh, which is the correct answer, is associated with Tarun Bharat Sangh, and P.C. Joshi is an author who has written a textbook on environmental sciences. Therefore, the correct answer here is Rajinder Singh. What is the main reason for depletion of groundwater levels? Now, if you look at the four options, rains are less frequent, tree cover has reduced, tube wells and hand pumps are used for irrigation, and the course of rivers is being changed and dams built. All of the four are linked to depletion of groundwater level. However, we are being asked what is the main reason for depletion of groundwater level. Now, the first one, rains are less frequent. It means that groundwater is not getting recharged, but this is not the main reason for depletion. And tree cover has reduced, again means that groundwater is not getting recharged, but reduction in tree cover is not leading to depletion. Similarly, course of rivers being changed and dams built means that water is not flowing into the ponds and lakes which would otherwise recharge the groundwater. However, this is not leading to depletion of groundwater. So the direct reason for depletion of groundwater is because tube wells and hand pumps are being used for irrigation. That is, water which is already in the ground, the groundwater is being taken out or sucked up using hand pumps and tube wells and used for irrigation and other purposes. Therefore, this is the most direct reason for depletion of groundwater, and this is the correct answer. And if you look at the class 5 EVS textbook, chapter 6, that is Every Drop Counts, even there it is mentioned that the wells could have dried up because water is being pumped up from under the ground. Therefore, this is the correct answer. In many places, acid rain is affecting aquatic biodiversity. The main chemicals causing acid rain are which of the following? You might have read news articles saying that even the Taj Mahal is getting affected by acid rain. So what happens is when fossil fuels such as petrol or diesel are burnt in automobiles or due to industrial activity, gases such as nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide are released. Now these gases will react with the water in the rain to form acid. So that becomes acid rain. And when that acid rain falls on the ground, it starts affecting the buildings. And when that acidic rainwater goes into the rivers, ponds or lakes, then it starts affecting the life in those water bodies. That is the aquatic biodiversity. Therefore, the correct answer here is nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Now this question has been taken from NCERT class 8 science textbook from a chapter called Pollution of Air and Water, where it is mentioned that these gases, which is nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide, right, react with water vapor present in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid and nitric acid. And the acid drops down with rain, making the rain acidic. This is called acid rain. So the answer is directly given here in the textbook. So the answer is nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Fresh water available on the earth is very little. out of the total fresh water available, which of the following holds the maximum percentage of the total fresh water? Now, when we look at the water available on Earth, almost 97% of the water is in the sea as salt water, and just 3% is actually available as fresh water. And this 3%, when you look at it, 70% of this 3% is actually in the form of ice caps, ice sheets, glaciers and snow on various mountains and the North Pole and South Pole. Therefore, only 29% of the water is available underground, and just 1% of the water is actually what we can see in rivers, lakes, ponds. Therefore, out of the available fresh water, 70%, that is the maximum percentage, is in the form of ice caps and snow. So when we look at the options, glaciers, which is nothing but ice caps and snow, this is the correct answer because almost 70% of the water is locked in this. Now rivers, springs and waterfalls is actually what we can see here, and these account for less than 1%. And the same information is given in the class 6 social science major domains of the earth chapter and class 10 geography water resources as well, saying that almost 70% of the fresh water occurs in ice sheets and glaciers in Antarctica, Greenland and mountainous regions of the world. Which of the following statements is not true about water? Now when we read the statements, the first one says water is a universal solvent. That is, water has the ability to dissolve a large number of materials. Therefore, it is called universal solvent. So this is a true statement. And the same thing is mentioned in the next statement as well, saying that it has a capacity to dissolve a variety of different substances. Therefore, which is the reason why it is called universal solvent. So this is also a correct statement. The last one says water exists in all the three states of matter. This is also correct because water can exist as ice, which is solid, water, which is liquid, and in the form of steam or vapor, which is a gas. Therefore, this also is a correct statement. Now, density of water is maximum at 100 degrees centigrade. This statement is incorrect. Therefore, this is not true because when water reaches 100 degrees centigrade, it becomes a gas, that is steam. Therefore, the density of the water will be the lowest at 100 degrees centigrade. Therefore, this is an incorrect statement and the answer here. Rita lives with her working mother, father, younger brother, grandparents, father's brother and his family. This kind of family format is which of the following? Now the first option says maternal family with Rita's mother as the head. There is no information in the question about who is the head of the family. Therefore, this can be discarded. Next, paternal family with Rita's dad as the head of the family. Now this also can be discarded because again, there is no information on who is the head of the family in the question. The third one, nuclear family, where both her parents are working. Now, nuclear family is a family which consists of the parents and the children. That's it. So, this is not a nuclear family because we have grandparents, we have the father's brother's family, we have the parents and the children as well. So, this is not a nuclear family. Therefore, this can be discarded. The last option says joint family, where all the members live together. Now, a family where several generations live together or several members of the same generation live together can be called as a joint family. Therefore, this is a joint family, which is the correct answer. Animals with sharp, flat and broad front teeth have different preferences of food. Which of the following food preferences do these animals go for? Now, this question has been taken from the class 3 EVS textbook, a chapter called A Busy Month, and it is also taken from class 6 science textbook from a chapter called Food, Where Does It Come From?, where there is a discussion about with the teeth of various animals. And here the information given is that herbivores, which eat grass and herbs, have flat, sharp and broad front teeth, which is used to pluck and bite leaves, and these animals have strong, flat back teeth, which helps them chew food. Therefore, here herbivores, which eat grass and herbs, is the correct answer, which have sharp, flat and broad front teeth. Plants that can grow in areas that have saline water or salt water, or areas which have lot of salt in the soil. So plants which can grow there are termed as which of the following? Now this question is probably taken from the NCERT class 12 biology textbook, where there is an exemplar question which is actually asking us to identify plants which are hydrophytes, halophytes, mesophytes and xerophytes. Anyway, here the correct answer is halophytes, because halophytes are plants which can grow in areas which have saline water or salt water. Therefore, this is the correct answer. The paintings that depict a story in which only natural colors are used, and these paintings are called as Chitra Kathi, and these paintings belongs to which of these states? Now this question has been taken from the class 4 EVS textbook, chapter called Valley of Flowers, where it is mentioned that Chitra Kathi paintings are part of an oral storytelling tradition that are popular in the Maharashtra Karnataka region. And Chitra means painting and Katha is a story. So here Maharashtra is the correct answer. Identify the tribal groups that are native to the state of Himachal Pradesh in India. Now this question is based on the NCERT class 8 social science textbook from a chapter called Tribals, Dikus and the Vision of a Golden Age, where there is a mention of Gaddis of Kulu. So Kulu is in Himachal Pradesh. And this question is also based on the class 7 social science textbook Tribes, Nomads and Settled Communities, where there is a mention that in the western Himalayas lived a shepherd tribe of Gaddis. Therefore, the correct answer here is Gaddi tribe. Which one of the following is the oldest traditional dance form from Mizoram? Now the answer here is Chera dance. Now this is a very important question because almost every year there will be a question about Chera dance. They will either ask Chera dance belongs to which state, in which case you have to identify Mizoram, or like this question they will ask in Mizoram which dance is performed and you have to identify Chera. So Chera is also called bamboo dance, and this is the correct answer. Which is the largest rail route in India? The question has a small error. It should not be largest, it should have been longest. Now the longest rail route in India is from Dibrugarh to Kanyakumari. Dibrugarh is in Assam and Kanyakumari is in Tamil Nadu. So this is a railway route that covers around 4,262 kilometers, starting from Assam and going through Nagaland, Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala and ending in Tamil Nadu. And it is also the 16th longest railway route in the world. Kalpana Chawla, an Indian-American astronaut, died in the space shuttle in which year? Now Kalpana Chawla was killed in the Columbia Space Shuttle disaster in the year 2003. This question has been taken from the class 5 EVS textbook from a chapter called Sunita in Space, where Sunita Williams is also an astronaut of Indian origin who is part of the NASA space missions. And while the information about Kalpana Chawla's accident is not given specifically in that particular chapter, it is mentioned in the teacher's note that children can be told about Kalpana Chawla and her space travel. So the answer is 2003. Birds make different types of nests and choose different places to build their nests. Which one of the following birds builds their nest in tree trunks? Now this question has been taken from the NCERT class 4 EVS chapter 16, a busy month, where there is a mention of different types of birds and where they build their nests. In that chapter it is mentioned that the barbet or the coppersmith bird can be heard in the summer with its tuk 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 call, and it makes its nest in a hole in a tree trunk. Therefore, the answer here is barbet or coppersmith bird. During the pandemic times, doctors advise to increase vitamin C rich food. And what is the reason for this? Now this question has been taken from the class 6 science textbook from a chapter called Components of Food, where different types of vitamins are mentioned and their functions are also explained. For example, vitamin A keeps our skin and eyes healthy, vitamin C helps body to fight against many diseases, and vitamin D helps our body to use calcium and bones for bones and teeth. So vitamin C helps the body to fight against many diseases. Now if you look at the answer choices, the last one, that is, it builds resistance against infections, is the correct answer here. Students of class 4 are asked by their teacher to discuss what happens to the food we eat inside our body. Which of the following is our objective? Now we are talking about class 4 students, and because she's asking them what happens to the food inside our body and she's asking them to discuss this among themselves. So these are children who still don't know what digestion is all about and what happens to food inside our body. So now when we look at the answer choices, the first one says developing students' imagination about digestion and scientific concepts. Now developing the students' imagination about digestion may be correct, but scientific concepts, this is incorrect because these are class 4 children, they still don't know the basics and she's still not taught them about digestion still. So scientific concepts will make this an incorrect or an incomplete option. Next, helping students to formulate correct responses to the question. Absolutely not, because here the teacher has not explained the correct process of what happens to food inside our body. She's just asking the children to discuss this between themselves. So unless and until somebody knows the correct answer and the other people and the other children actually learn that correct answer from him, she's not helping the children formulate the correct responses to the question, right? So here the teacher is not expecting the children to give any correct answers. So this is also an incorrect statement. Next, exploring the students' intuitive ideas. Now this is the best option and this is the correct answer, because what she's doing is asking the children to discuss this question between themselves, what happens to food inside our body, and they are coming up with their own imaginary ideas, they are coming up with their own thoughts about what happens to food based on their understanding, their imagination. So she's exploring the students' intuitive ideas and this is the correct answer. And this question has been taken from NCERT class 345 EVS syllabus document, where there is a mention that children should be allowed to explore their own intuitive ideas. And this is precisely what is given in the answer choice. So this is the correct answer. Ayan, a teacher of class 4, organizes a trip to the museum. What process skills can be encouraged to this field trip? Now, when you take children to a museum, what do they do there? Do they map and measure anything in the museum and try to create diagrams of the museum? They will not. Therefore, this is an incorrect option. Next, will they classify things saying that, okay, these are all from ancient Rome, these are all from ancient India, and do they classify or try to conduct any experiments in the museum? Absolutely not. So classification and experimentation also can be discarded. Next, communication and identifying variables. Now, communication and identifying variables are scientific and mathematical concepts. So in a museum where there will be paintings or there will be statues or there will be old artifacts, so communication and identifying variables don't play much of a part. Therefore, this also can be discarded. The only remaining option is observation and making models. So now, if you take children to a museum and you show them a statue or you show them a painting, when you come back to the class, if you ask them to try to draw what they saw or what they observed in the museum, they will make some rough sketches so they can observe and make models or make paintings or make drawings of what they have observed in the museum. So when you organize a field trip to a museum, the main objective and the process skills that can be encouraged would be observation skills and to make models or draw pictures or draw diagrams of what you have observed. So observation and making models is the correct answer. Meera, an EVS teacher, asks students to bring sugar, salt and lemon juice and haldi, flour, etc. for an activity to observe dissolving of things in water. What is the best reason for asking the students to bring things on their own? Now, the first option says there is no laboratory or material available in most primary schools. This is an incorrect option because there are many schools which have well-equipped laboratories and at least they will have material for basic experiments. Therefore, this is an incorrect statement. The next one is there is a need to involve families in the student learning. This is correct because when the child goes to his parents and asks that I want to take lemon juice and haldi and flour to school, they will ask, why is it? What are you doing with this, with these things? Then the child will explain that there is some experiment that is being done. Next day, when they again ask the child might be able to explain the experiment about trying to dissolve various things in water, which they did in the school. So now the parents have a better understanding of what exactly are the children learning in school. So they might be able to teach a little more about other things that will dissolve in water or don't dissolve in water. So there is a need to involve families in the students' learning, and that is one of the fundamental aspects in education. So this is a correct statement. So the correct answer should have B in it. So which means that C and D can be eliminated because this does not have B. Next, there is a need to involve students so that they construct knowledge easily. This is absolutely true because when you involve students in a practical activity, in a hands-on activity, then they'll be able to construct knowledge easily. For example, there is a saying that I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. So here you are involving students so that they do something. Therefore, the correct answer should have C also in it. Therefore, all the three have C in it. Next, the last one is the students are able to relate their local knowledge with the school's knowledge. This is also correct because when they go home and ask for salt, right? In some houses, they might have crystal salt. In some houses, they might be using very fine powdered salt. In some houses, they might be using the Himalayan pink salt. So when the child goes and gets these substances to the school, the children can compare this between themselves. Okay, in my house, this kind of salt is used. In your house, this kind of salt is used. So the children are able to relate their local knowledge to what is being taught in the school. Therefore, this is also a correct statement, and this is one of the fundamental purposes of EVS. Therefore, B, C and D, all the three are correct. Now, the correct answer is B, C and D. However, when you look at the official answer key for this question, it says C and D only. This is incorrect. So that answer key should have been challenged. It was not challenged. So it says C and D. However, the best and the correct answer is B, C and D. And this is also mentioned if you read through the NCERT class 345 EVS syllabus document, which talks about the child's daily life experience and local knowledge. And it also says that children and parents need to be involved as active participants in the learning and development of children. So all of these documents support B, C and D. Which of the following is a theme in EVS at a primary level? Now you have to remember all the themes and the sub-themes in EVS because every year there are at least 1 or 2 questions around this. Now there are 6 themes in EVS: family and friends, food, water, shelter, travel and things we make and do. Now when we look at the answer choices, the second one, that is things we make and do, is a theme in EVS. So this is the correct answer. The other 3 options are not themes. As per the EVS curriculum at a primary level, students are sensitized to some of the social issues of our country. Identify which of the following sets of social issues are dealt with in the curriculum. Now this question can be answered by referring to the NCERT Indicators for Assessment document and the class 5 textbook, where there is mention of concern for justice and equality and developing sensitivity towards the disadvantaged and differently abled. And even in other chapters and other textbooks, such as the class 4 EVS textbook, there is a mention in the note for the teacher that children should be sensitized to help the family and the people around them without encouraging child labor. So if you refer to all these documents, you'll be able to identify which are the social issues that are touched upon in these textbooks in the EVS curriculum. Now there is also a simpler way of answering this, right? If you look at all the answer choices, now these are class 3, 4 or 5 children, very young children, right? And they can understand child labor because they see children working their children working in garages or children working in shops. So they can understand about child labor, and they can understand about class inequalities, in the sense children from a richer family might have access to better resources, children from a poorer family might not be able to buy things or buy toys. So they understand or they can know about child labor and class inequalities. Therefore, this has to be the correct answer. If you look at the other options, the next one is dowry system. Now at this age, class 3, 4, 5, they would hardly know what a marriage is all about. So how will you teach them about what dowry is? Therefore, this is incorrect. Therefore, this statement can be eliminated. The next one, about domestic violence. Now, while children might have seen domestic violence, trying to explain about domestic violence, the reasons and how this should be stopped. So this is still much too young for their age, right? So this domestic violence is not something that you'll teach in the EVS curriculum. Therefore, this also can be eliminated. Next, again, this has caste discrimination and domestic violence. Again, at a class 3, 4, 5, you probably cannot explain about caste and you should not be explaining about domestic violence. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Therefore, the only option which is correct is child labor and class inequalities, because these are things that children can see and observe around them without needing any explanation. Which of the following is the most appropriate feature about EVS textbooks at a primary level? Now, if you look at the introduction part of any of the EVS textbooks, that is the foreword, or if you refer to the NCERT Learning Outcomes at Elementary Stage document, then you will get a lot of information about which of these should be the correct answer. But we can also answer this by just looking at all the answer choices and understanding them. For example, the first one says a lot of information is given through the content. This is absolutely incorrect, because we are talking about EVS textbooks for grades 3, 4 and 5. So here, if you give children a lot of information through the content, then they'll not be able to understand it. They will quickly lose interest. So an appropriate amount of content and information is provided to them in these textbooks so that they are easy to learn and they are interesting. Therefore, lot of information, incorrect. Next, there is a focus on stereotypes and biases existing in the society. While these textbooks touch upon some of the stereotypes and biases that exist, they don't focus on them, right? You are not trying to teach social justice or anything to children, right? You are just trying to teach them the basics of science, social studies and environmental science. Therefore, while the textbooks do touch upon some of the stereotypes and biases, they don't focus on them. So this is incorrect. Next, there is a conscious effort to discourage rote learning. Now, rote learning means memorization, and this is absolutely discouraged in EVS and also in other subjects. For example, if you look at the class 5 EVS textbook, it is clearly mentioned that there is an attempt to discourage rote learning. Therefore, this option 3 is the correct answer, and it is also mentioned in the textbook itself. The last one, textbook is the only teaching and learning material to be used by the teachers. This is incorrect, because it is clearly written in this textbook and the introduction and other documents that textbook is not the only teaching and learning material. Children should be able to learn from other sources, from their family, from their community, and from their experiences outside the school. Therefore, the correct answer here is there is a conscious effort to discourage rote learning. The most appropriate reason for using stories and narratives in EVS textbooks is which of the following? Now, if we refer to the NCERT class 3, 4, 5 EVS syllabus document, there is a part which says that moreover, in the universe of young children, narratives of animals and plants play a significant role, and they can relate well even to animated characters perceived as family and friends. So, for example, if you try to teach children about the story of a fox, so if you go by the scientific way of teaching it, children may not be able to relate to a fox. Why? Because fox will kill birds and fox will steal eggs, right? So they might actually hate the fox. But if you teach them about fox as if the fox had a family, it had friends, and it was going to school, so you are telling a story about a fox. So when you tell a story or a narrative about a fox in a way that the children can relate to it, then they can empathize. That is, they tend to look upon the fox as a real life living being, a being which has feelings. Therefore, they can empathize with the characters in a story or a narrative. So this is the correct answer here, and this is what is mentioned, saying that they can relate well even to animated characters. Right? Now, if you look at the other options, students enjoy reading stories and narrative themselves. Now, this is also correct, but this is not the most appropriate reason. And at grade 3, children might not still be capable of reading the stories and understanding it by themselves, right? So while this is partially true, this is not completely true and not the most appropriate. So we will discard this. Next, teachers find it easy to transact lessons through stories and narratives. This is an incorrect statement, because the inclusion of stories and narratives is not intended to make the teacher's life or work easy. So this is incorrect. The last one, teachers easily modify the content into role play and drama. This is also incorrect, because in most cases, teachers might be given a syllabus and a kind of a content and a framework that they have to follow. So they don't tend to modify the content into role plays and dramas, right? So here, the most appropriate answer is students easily empathize or they can easily relate well to characters in a story or narrative, which is the reason why stories and narratives are included in the EVS textbooks. Which of the following frequency of assessment is appropriate for teaching and learning of EVS? So, if you refer to the NCERT Continuous and Comprehensive Evaluation Guidelines, just like the title of this document suggests, assessment should be continuous and comprehensive, which means that at the end of the year is not the correct answer. At the end of 6 months is also not the correct answer. Every month is also incorrect. Every day is the correct answer, because it might be assessment for learning, assessment of learning, or assessment as learning. Assessment should be part of the everyday teaching and learning process of EVS. Meera, an EVS teacher, likes a quiet class and asks her students to sit and work individually. Which of the following will be denied to her students? Now, if you refer to the Class 3 EVS, a note for teachers and parents, or the NCERT Continuous and Comprehensive Evaluation Guidelines, both these documents say that group learning and peer learning should be encouraged. That is, group learning promotes peer learning and improves social interactions. Now, children, if they are asked to sit and work alone, individually, then the one aspect that definitely will be denied is peer learning or group learning. Therefore, this is the answer here. Now, individual learning, observational learning, multiple intelligence are not aspects which will be disturbed if children sit and work individually. Only peer learning is the answer here. Which of the following is or are the correct strategy for assessing students' answers to questions asked by a teacher? Now, if we refer to the Class 5 EVS, a note for teachers and parents, it is mentioned that answers should not be assessed in terms of only right or wrong. And children's ideas, observations, reports, expression of their experiences, experiments, etc. should be opportunities for qualitatively assessing them. Which means that the first option, which says answers should be assessed as right and wrong, this is an incorrect statement, because answers should not just be assessed as right and wrong. And just marking them quantitatively, that is using just basic marks to evaluate their answers, is an incorrect statement. Therefore, statement A is completely incorrect. Now, since A is incorrect, if you look at the answer choices, whichever of the options has A in it will also be incorrect. Therefore, this has A, incorrect, this has A, incorrect, and this also has A, incorrect. Therefore, we are left with one option, that is B and C, which has to be the correct answer. And also, if you look at it, students' ideas should be assessed qualitatively. Students' experiences should be assessed qualitatively. This is precisely what is mentioned in the textbook note for teachers and parents. Therefore, this is the correct answer, B and C. Which of the following strategies should be selected by Sunita, an EVS teacher, to promote inquiry while teaching the theme of food? Now, the process of inquiry means children or students are asking questions and learning through the questions that they are asking, right? So, when we look at all the answer choices, the first one says instructing students about what to eat and maintain good health. Now, this is where the teacher is just instructing the students, and that students are not asking any questions and they are not learning through the questions. So, this is an incorrect option. The next one is asking students to collect pictures of food items of different regions. Now, this again is an activity. So, they are not asking any questions here. They are just working as per the instructions that are given to them. Therefore, this also is incorrect. Next, showing pictures of various sources of food. Once they have collected the pictures, if they are just showing the pictures in the school, whether they understand it, don't understand it, they are just following the instructions. So, this is not, again, inquiry. They are not asking any questions. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Now, if you encourage students to interact with the members of the family and community to find diverse food preferences, which means that the students are actually asking members of their family and their community about their food preferences. So one person might say, I prefer non-vegetarian. Another person might say, I prefer only eggs. And another person might say, I prefer to eat only vegetarian food. So the students are actually asking questions, which type of food do you prefer? And they are getting different type of answers from different members of their family and community, and they are learning through that. So if you are encouraging inquiry, then you should encourage students to interact with the members of their family and community and find diverse food preferences. So this is the correct answer. Now again here, if we refer to the class 5 EVS, a note for teachers and parents, the same thing is mentioned here as well. That is, sharing family experiences, interaction and with a person involved in the food production preservation is actually encouraged. So that is what the teacher is doing in option 4, which is the correct answer. The story of Ronald Ross is included in the EVS textbooks. The purpose of including this is to do what? Now, when you read about the story of Ronald Ross, who was a doctor and a scientist, and he was stationed in India, and he discovered the relationship between malaria and mosquitoes, and he even got a Nobel Prize about it. So by reading Ronald Ross's story, children are inspired to take up research. So this is a correct statement. Next, because we are reading about what Ronald Ross did and how he discovered the connection between mosquitoes and malaria and how mosquitoes spread malaria. So children can relate between mosquitoes and malaria. Therefore, B is also correct. Next, provide an insight into how scientists work. So this chapter or this story also talks about what are the various steps that scientists use to go about the scientific process. That is, they observe, then they come up with some questions, then they form a hypothesis, then they want to test the hypothesis, so they run an experiment, they get the feedback or collect the information, then they evaluate the information and arrive at a conclusion. So these are some steps in a scientific process. So this chapter also talks about them. So providing insights about how scientists work is also correct. Therefore, A, B and C, all the three are correct. Therefore, the answer is A, B and C. And the same thing is also mentioned in the class 5 EVS textbook, A Treat for Mosquitoes, which is the chapter in which Ronald Ross's story is actually mentioned. Identify the most appropriate feature of any unit plan from the following statements. Now, you have to read the NCERT Continuous and Comprehensive Evaluation Guidelines to get an understanding of what is a unit plan and what is a lesson plan. Now, I will explain this in a simple concept. If you are teaching about a big concept or a big subject, let's take it as mosquitoes, right? So when you are teaching about mosquitoes, what you do is you create a unit plan. So in lesson number 1, you will teach about what are mosquitoes and what are the type of insects they are, right? And then you will teach about how mosquitoes breed, and that will be a separate lesson. Then you will teach about the type of diseases that mosquitoes can spread. And if you want to talk more about it, you can have 3 more lessons, and each of these lessons will talk about, one will talk about malaria, one will talk about chikungunya, one will talk about dengue, right? And then you'll talk about how malaria can be eradicated, and you'll talk about how mosquitoes need to be eradicated or controlled. So you are including different lessons in a unit plan, and you are talking about a concept that has a wide implication, that is a large block of subject matter, and you are following a logical flow. There is a cohesive flow in this. So if you are planning for a large block of subject matter, which is a cohesive whole, right, which can have several lessons inside it, that is a unit plan, and that is the correct answer. Now, if you look at the other options, the first one says it is a sum of more than 10 lesson plans. Now, there is no specific number of lessons that need to be included in a unit plan. It can be 1 lesson, it can be 10 lessons, it can be 20 lessons. Therefore, since this says that it should be more than 10, then this is incorrect, because it can be even 1 lesson or 2 lessons. Right? Next, details of teaching learning activities for each lesson plan are included. This is also incorrect, because in a high level plan, that is a unit plan, you will include the basic details of each lesson, but you will not include all the details of all the teaching and learning activities in each lesson, because those details are included in the individual lesson plans and not at the high level unit plan. Therefore, this is incorrect. The last one is ideally it includes over 10 lesson plans. This is also incorrect, because a unit plan can have maybe just 2 or 3 or 4 or any number of lesson plans. Therefore, any specific number is not mentioned, which makes this incorrect. Which of the following strategies is the most appropriate strategy to teach EVS to students with linguistic difficulties? Linguistic difficulties means language related difficulties. For example, it might be dyslexia, where children are not able to read properly. Now, they are asking us which of the following is the most appropriate strategy to teach EVS to children who have such language-related difficulties? Now, this question can be answered by simply referring to the NCERT including students with special needs primary stage document, where it is explained that if children have linguistic difficulties or language-related difficulties, then we can use simple diagrams, concrete materials, that is materials that they can touch and feel and experience, and various activities to explain concepts in EVS. So this is the correct answer. This can also be answered by looking at all the answer choices and eliminating the obviously incorrect ones. For example, the last one says making arrangements for the learners to sit in the front row of the class. Now, in what way is this going to help? If children are unable to read and unable to understand the language aspect of the teaching, then by making them sit in the front row of the class, you're not going to make things better. Therefore, this is incorrect. Next, providing audio lessons. So, if they are not able to understand the concepts, then even audio lessons might not be of much use. So, this is also incorrect. Then, providing learning material which are tactile or in large print. Now, tactile and large print is for children with visual disabilities. Therefore, this is also incorrect. So, which leaves us with only one option. This is simple diagrams, concrete materials and activities. Therefore, option 2 is the correct answer. In the theme travel, narratives of Bachendri Pal's experiences in mountaineering are included. What could be the reason for including these? Now, Bachendri Pal was the first Indian woman to climb Mount Everest. Now, when you include Bachendri Pal's story in the class 5 EVS Up You Go, that is the lesson in which the story is included, then the chapter challenges gender stereotypes, because if children are thinking that only boys or only men can be mountaineers or can participate in adventure sports, then this chapter is saying that even a woman, that is Bachendri Pal, can also climb Mount Everest and participate in adventure sports. Therefore, it is challenging gender stereotypes. So A is correct. Then the chapter describes challenges faced in scaling high peaks. Absolutely, because Bachendri Pal climbed Mount Everest. Therefore, the challenges that she and her team faced in climbing that peak are mentioned in that. Therefore, this is also correct. Next, the chapter provides the importance of teamwork. The chapter explains the importance of teamwork. This is also correct because Bachendri Pal did not climb the mountain alone. She climbed with a team and they helped each other in the endeavor. Therefore, this is also correct. Next, the chapter provides an exemplary role model. Now, Bachendri Pal is a lady who achieved the feat of being the first Indian woman to climb Mount Everest. Right? So, she is a role model and children can learn from her experience. Therefore, this is an exemplary role model that is being provided here. Therefore, D is also correct. Therefore, A, B, C and D, all of them are correct. Therefore, A, B, C and D is the correct option. And with that, we have completed the 30 EVS questions in this question paper. If you have any questions, comments or feedback, please post them in the comments below. Please do like this video and please do subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And if your friends are also preparing for a similar exam, please share this video with them. You can help them and also help us. So thank you, stay safe, and I will see you again in the next video.